Let me look up my MLS number. It's like that.
What's going on, people? Welcome to the Ardhi Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Fagan, broker and owner of Ardhi Real Estate brokerage in South Jersey. And I have over 10 years of experience in real estate. And we have our illustrious panel here, and we're going to be talking about getting kicked out when you're 18, the cultural differences, the benefits of cohabitating, and generational habitation in your home, and how we can do better maybe and do a comparison and contrast. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having us again, Ryan.
What's your name? And who are you?
I am Daniel Curtis, known as Instagram _Danny Dills. 10 years sales experience, 5 years coaching experience. Yeah, so that's me.
There you go.
Hey, and I'm Cassandra Spruill, real estate agent, South Jersey.
We have to pull Cassandra's teeth because she doesn't want to tell anyone about herself. But we're going to find out about,
It's not true.
I'm so curious to find out about your life story as far as, becoming a young adult, and if your parents pressured you to leave, or if you, what your thoughts were on leaving the nest. So we're going to get into it. But first, I want to start with some data, which I think that gives us some credibility, right? Let's start with some hardcore data. And there was a Pew Research Center study that shows that 52% of U.S. young adults live with their parents, which is a big difference from 1995, where only 30% of young adults lived with their parents. So with that being said, when you guys were growing up, did you have to get out when you were 18?
Get out? Not necessarily, but it was highly encouraged to have your own by that age of graduating high school and moving forward. If you were going to college, great. That was another way out. But if not, then it was military, trade, something, get ready to start moving out or start transitioning to adulthood.
What did your parents say to you?
So I already knew I was going to college. So mine.
Why did you choose to go to college?
I wanted to go to college. I wanted the experience. I wanted to be out on my own, kind of have that responsibility of waking myself up, get ready for class, go to work, all that kind of good stuff that college does for you, for the most part anyway.
Do you think that was your idea, or that idea was instilled in your brain as a child?
No, it was absolutely my idea. My mom went to school at, I believe it was Holy Family or Holy Cross, to get her bachelor's, but she was a commuter, and she had already had my brother and was having me while she was in school. So she definitely was going back and forth to Camden and Philly every single day for school. But my dad didn't even graduate middle school. So it was like, I wasn't a first generation college student, but it was kind of a thing like, yo, this is what I want to do. I want to do something different than what my environment entailed.
Interesting. Cassandra, what was your introductory experience, 16, 18? What were your parents saying to you? What did you want to do?
No, so for me, my experience was very different from Danny. So want to get out? Yes. Had to get out? No. And if it was up to my mom and, having it her way, I'd be there till I was married and then stay there with my husband and kids. Like I don't know. I come from Caribbean parents, so they're like, it's more so like,
baby.
The only way out is like, the only way out early is like college or marriage or death. And without you, I mean, you could leave, of course, but like without you being looked at as like the wayward child, right? Like they more so want like the community. Parents want their kids to stay at home.
Really?
And be there until you're married. And then a lot of times if they get along with your partner, stay there while you're married and have kids and just be one big happy family.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that about you, because I think the typical African American culture is like, you're 18, you get out, you pay rent, and it's like very hostile.
Yeah.
And it's not community based.
No. Caribbeans, well, at least with me, very community based, and
Right.
even so, like when it's so community based, where it's like we all had different. Like I grew up with all my cousins within the 3 block radius. So like, even though like your sister, sisters, brothers, whatever, cousins, uncles, we all lived in the same hood. We all lived in the same neighborhood. We were all on like the same block or within a 4 block radius. So not only do you stay home, everybody kind of stays in that same, capacity.
So you have like a good support structure and stuff then.
I mean, I definitely was. It was definitely family based. So it's like you don't even now to this day. Like I can go home. I just don't want to. I can go home right now to my mom. It is what it is.
And
like
they want to
she'll
give you
always
pressure.
accept. No, I mean my mom is more so like she wants grandkids or whatever, but she would have me live with her till she dies if it's up to her. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she's more so like, even now she's like, come home, you can save money, and I was like,
Why? Why do you feel this way? When did you move out and why?
I moved out for college. It was my way out. It was that or death. So no, I moved out for college because that was my only respectable way out, and I just never came back after college.
And what was it in you that, because a lot of parents would say if you make your house too hospitable to your kid, they'll never leave the nest, they'll never do anything, but you were the opposite where you wanted to go and do stuff. What do you think?
Well, they do. My mom did want me to go out and do things, but she wanted to more so like she wanted me to be a nurse so bad. But it wasn't even about being a nurse or like she still wanted me to chase my dreams or whatever. But stay home and then build up a nice amount, and then everybody move together. I don't know. It's like a stay together. She has this and that's just how the family is. We kind of have this stay together knit community where it's like don't just stay home and do nothing. That's not ever cool.
Oh, so they would bother you if you weren't doing
Oh
something?
yeah, you gotta get money.
Would you have to pay rent in the house? Like, would you have to, like, what's your responsibilities?
No, as a girl, I didn't have to. But my mom, I grew up with a single mom, so I wanted to help. But my brother more so had the pressure of, yeah, get in there. You can help mom out. What are you doing? But it was get in there, still work, help mom, but stay. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't ever like work and get out of here.
So do you reject that philosophy today?
Of kicking your kids out at 18?
Yeah. Do you like that you moved out, and then if/when you have kids, what's your attitude towards them living in the house or leaving?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of pros and cons with me moving out early. Like with anybody who moves out at 18. Do I regret it? Not entirely. But I do feel like I would have saved a lot of money moving out. I mean, staying in.
A lot of money.
Will I kick my kids out? No. But you can't stay without a plan. So this is like, yeah, we're going to figure out how to get you to your own home, but I'm not going to kick you out until you do. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that would be, I think I'm a little bit of both, where it's like, baby, you're not staying with me till you grown and married with kids. We're going to figure out by 25 or whatever, like how to get you your own, or even before that. Cause you could house hack. You could do a lot of things at an early age at 18 that I didn't know. I wasn't aware. I just was ready to go. But if I knew what I knew now, I feel like honestly, I could have my kid out by 18 and they'll have their own house, or 20 and they'll have their own house. But if it takes 25, then it takes 25. But 30, that's a little pushing it.
Well, we're going to talk about that because we have some stats coming up later, because with home affordability and the prices of homes and all that stuff, that's why we kind of wanted to talk about this. It's getting more challenging and difficult for kids to move out. Danny, I want to know, what's your attitude towards having kids and moving out and all that stuff, and would you have done it differently? Or
So for me, once I went to college, I told my parents right away I'm not coming home.
Right.
It was just more so like I wanted.
You was having a ball.
No. I wanted my independence. Once I got like the small little taste of independence and having my own space, and not really having to answer to anybody or go by anybody's rules, and kind of set my own boundaries and limits of what I wanted to do. That was just like I fed off of that. So it was like, all right, well, after my freshman year, I moved off campus. and I figured out the system within school to make sure my refund checks could cover my housing expenses off campus throughout the entire year, rather than, you go to school for one semester, you come home, from the fall, you come home in the winter, go back in the spring, leave in the summer, come back in the fall. I was like, nah, I need to stay in my own place all year round. Like, that's what I want to do. But again, I feel like I was very responsible at that time because I stayed with a full time job, and I was playing sports, and I was, doing my college thing. But on the opposite side of things, like Cassandra mentioned, is like, dang, I could have saved a nice amount of money if I did stay home, especially when it comes to paying for college and stuff like that, because I have to pay for that myself. My parents aren't paying for any of that, so the grants and stuff help, but I still have loans that I got to pay back. So if I stayed home, especially going to Rowan in state, I probably wouldn't have had any loans, anything at all.
But it was worth it.
It was very worth it for the experience. It wasn't worth it because now I'm paying for it.
Well, if you had to make the choice, knowing what you know now, what would you do?
I would have sucked it up. Probably.
Ooh.
I would have sucked it up and went home.
You would have stayed home.
Yep. I would have stayed
Oh.
home. I would have sucked it up, just, rode it out for a couple more years,
Save
because right at the tail end of my college career is when I started like really paying attention to real estate and understanding the stuff that Cassandra's talking about, like house hacking and things like that. So if I stayed home and I saved that money that I had, then I probably would have had a house in maybe 2016, 2017, rather than now 2023. So it would have made a huge difference on, having an investment property and kind of setting myself up for my, successful financial future. Whereas now I'm kind of backpedaling and doing things in a little bit in reverse than I would have, even if I had like the parents that had the mindset of like, hey, come home, let's have a plan, like Cassandra said. It wasn't that. It was like, all right, well, what you gonna do? I'm like, I'm 18. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Well, I know. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead on my own. I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? It wasn't any pressure, like, oh, you have to leave, but like you had mentioned something earlier about like paying bills and things like that. Once I got my first job at 15, I was paying my cell phone bill. So it wasn't like it wasn't even an option to not pay bills and stay home. No, you had to pay bills. You had to be doing something. And, unfortunately, in African American household, like it's more so like a consistent pressure of like, okay, well, what are you contributing? What responsibilities are you taking on? And like, the older you get and the longer you're staying home, the more responsibilities that they want to push onto you, or they sometimes your parents and even other family members begin to like have a stigma towards what you're doing or who you are, who you're becoming. And a lot of people think like, oh, you being a bum, like you're home, you living off your mom and your dad, you're 20 something now, like you're not out there trying to be successful, this and the third, but yet they don't truly know what success really looks like. Like, just to give you an example, I don't want to go too far on this, but just to give you an example, I got a friend who went to school, D1 football, college paid for, whole 9 yards. Comes home, he's like, he went to school, ends up coming home. He wants to be a photographer. Not wants to be. He's a really good photographer. Staying at home, trying to build up his portfolio, things like that. His parents don't necessarily see the vision that he has. So because he doesn't have money flowing in right away, it's like, well, why don't you use your college degree to go do this and that? He's like, well, if I work a 9 to 5, I won't be able to take advantage of the stuff that I need to do to get my career off the ground with photography, which is his passion, which he wants to do. So he works like, part-time job here, part-time job there to make ends meet, still having to kick back something at home, but then he's still trying to chase his passion. So he's running in a loop right now, trying to figure it all out. And then every time that he wants to walk out the door and go off on his own and do his own thing, it's like, oh, well, you're supporting, you're helping, don't leave yet. And it's like, it's just, a back and forth scenario. And that's how it is. That would be what it is if I had went home. So it'd be,
I do think that's an interesting dynamic between what Cassandra was saying and what you're saying, and I find it interesting. It's like one culture is where the kid is kind of helping to support the parents in a way by contributing, like, some money to the household, where Cassandra's attitude is kind of more like, I'm going to get you on the right path earlier. You know what I mean? Rather than it's more like one sense it's taking and one sense it's giving. In a way. You know?
Yeah.
Because Cassandra had a great example of. She said it right out. It's community, right? Like in a Caribbean household or a lot of foreigners, they think community first, rather than an African American household. It's like, okay, how do we get ahead? You know what I mean?
As individuals.
Yeah, it's individuals. Like it's very individualized because, we're kind of brainwashed to have that individual mindset rather than, back home, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, we had our grandmom and she stayed in and helped mom with the babies and mom's here with the babies. And if you're a girl, you don't really do too much of that stuff. But if you're a boy, you do a little bit more. Okay, you bring some money into the house. And, it's certain rules, I guess, within the culture when you come from just a foreign background, regardless if it's Caribbean or even African, Indian, even Chinese, like, you kind of, they all pile that all together.
Structure and rules.
Yeah,
but I could go down a whole thing about that, but I'm going to take this into the financial segment.
Yeah, for sure.
Where the median age of a first-time home buyer in 1995 was 29 years old. And in 2019, it's 33. And I would bet that it's a little bit higher in 2023, but we didn't have data that goes back that far. So I think, basically, generational milestones are taking longer for everybody. So people are having kids later. People are buying houses later. They're finally making decent money later. And it's an interesting phenomenon. Do you guys think that this is a choice mostly, or is it based off of economics?
I think it's a combination of both. But you are seeing a lot of more kids going to college, graduating college, and coming straight back home just because they can't do it on their own. They can't make it on their own. But I also feel like there is a difference in just it's a generational difference. Like in 92, it was that get out, go make money straight out of college, get to it. Whereas now it's like this generation is just completely different. It's like, find your purpose, find your passion. Don't take a less paying job, stay, whatever. So I feel like there's more options and it's more leeway for this generation in a sense. Whereas back in the 90s, it was kind of pushed where it's like, you got to go be an adult now.
Do you think part of that, because I've heard the argument where, and my brother makes this argument, who's producing, shout out to Kevin, where why the heck am I going to work so hard and be so dedicated to get a job, and then I still can't, I can barely pay my bills.
Or I hate it.
If you're in the 90s and you worked hard, you could, afford your house, buy a house, have kids, get promotions at your job, go on vacation. Life was a lot easier. So why am I going to kill myself to try to get ahead when I probably feel like I can't? So I feel like that's maybe where that attitude is coming from. Self-care, but you're going to lean into self-care and stuff like that versus grinding or going out there and getting it, because people feel like there's nothing out there for them to go get. And I hate that, because I'm the biggest pull yourself up by the bootstraps person, but the goalpost is moving further and further and further away. And to me, I see why people are like, this game is impossible. I'm just not going to play it.
Yeah. It's definitely been a shift in mindsets, because you got to think back in the 90s, you got a lot of blue collar work. People, the men were getting up and they were going to work and they were doing what they had to do to take care of their families, whether they liked the job or not.
Well, my mom has an associate's degree, okay? And she got into a radiation oncology program, and she was making six figures with an associate's degree. And at the top of her income level with an associate's degree running a cancer center, she was making over $250,000 a year. And when I talk to her, it's maddening, because she thinks she didn't make a lot of money. And I'm like, you have no idea what it's like today, where $100,000 is a lot, but now after all this inflation, $100,000 is
It's like 50,000.
yeah, it's not hitting the same. So I think the generational differences on the economy have changed a lot of things. I think naturally people would want to have kids and get together and do all that kind of stuff, but the economy stops it. Have you heard guys say, "Oh, I can't have kids yet because I don't make enough money," or "I can't get married because I don't make enough money," and or so I think that's really the consideration. Or like, I want to get my life together, and the problem is people are getting their life together in their late 30s. They're buying their first house at 33. That's their starter home.
Right.
That's not the home like that you're raising all your kids and doing. That's like your springboard into wealth that we always talk about. So
Right.
I don't know.
See, but back in the 90s, you bought a house, you could support almost up to 4, 5, 6 even kids. Nowadays, the average birth rate per couple is 1.8 children. Right. So you're barely having 2 kids, with the economy to what it is now, obviously with inflation and things like that. So that 100,000 that your mom was making, which was probably really good money, she got a bet, she can get bang for her buck back in the day.
Yeah, we went to the Bahamas
now, right?
The whole family, I look at the price.
Yeah, your paycheck to paycheck now at 100,000. Right? You know what I mean? Like that's just scratching the surface of, what do they say? Like, middle income or middle class is 100,000 at this point, and it also depends on where you living at as well. But you take 100,000 up to New York, that's nothing.
Oh yeah, that's
you know what I mean. 100,000 in South Jersey might be great. 100,000 in L.A., you might as well live on the streets.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
What do you guys think as far as the financial plan? Like, if you have younger family members, 16, 17, 21, that type of range, like, what would you tell them as far as what they should be doing with their money, especially thinking about real estate? Like, how should they be approaching that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really just starting to set up a clear financial plan for them as soon as possible. Obviously, instilling discipline with their money, and being able to diversify what they do. Like for me, when I have kids and they turn, I'm probably gonna start them at like 10, 11. Even with me giving them money, like if I give my child money, they want to go and buy a pair of Nikes. All right, well, we're going to go online and I'm going to start you a stock portfolio, and I'm going to buy you a stock for every pair of Nikes that you get. So by the time that you get, 2025, you done got X amount of pair of Nikes, and you got X amount of, stocks that are already invested for you. So it's just kind of setting up the financial vehicles for your child to be successful going, down the line, and them understanding, what this can do for you. I think the biggest thing is information, and they talk about different stages in your child's life, but in that 16 or 18 plus stage, you're becoming more so a coach for your child. So you have to coach them through these situations because they're not learning in school taxes and, retirement plans, 401ks, Roth IRAs. They're not learning about investing in, all that kind of good stuff. Because I bet you if I sat you down or Cassandra down right before you went to school and I'm like, hey, listen, we're going to go wherever you want to go to school. I'm going to take you out there. Let's find a house. And you just pick 4 roommates and have them pay you $500 a month. You'd be like, what?
Right.
Like, okay. Like, what are we talking about?
You wouldn't even know that you could do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like most people.
That information is not spread how it should be. So for me, I want to change that dynamic and make sure that I give the information to my kids and let them still make their own decision as well. Like, let them be a part of that decision making and me not necessarily making it for them, but kind of guiding them to that decision.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Financial literacy is imperative because they don't teach it to children in school, and then you raise, and a lot of adults don't know, so they can't pass that information down to their kids, and then these kids are going to school and they're not learning money. They're not learning how to, they're not learning finances. They're not learning budgeting. They're not learning anything in regards to finance. It's more so like, all right, you get $1 and you spend it. And no. So if I feel like at a young age, if you start implementing some of those strategies, in regards to financial literacy, the kids can get ahead. Smart investments, budgeting, finances, knowing how to make a dollar, knowing how to work, knowing how to save, and then going from there.
I like Danny's example of the kid who went to college and then wanted to be a photographer. How would you guys deal with that, right? Because say your kid wants to be a YouTuber or something where maybe you don't see the vision. How do you approach that? How would you approach that? Or how do you think, what is a good way to approach, a more non-traditional path today? Are you pressing them, or do you want them to get a side job? You need them to go pay their own bills? Like, what's up?
I know for me personally, I'm not pressing my kid to go to college.
Oh.
Unpopular opinion, I am not. If they want to go to college, cool, and I'll help you pay for it if it's a degree I feel like is worth you going to college and being paid for, such
Which
as
are?
getting a becoming a doctor or something in the medical field, or becoming an engineer. I will support you, child. You want to go to school to be an art major? Immediately, no.
Okay.
I will not. And it's not that I won't support you. It won't be my dollar now, but I will tell you how to kind of, I'm not going to completely leave you out there, but I'm not investing in that. That's a bad investment. I went to school. I don't even use my degree. I graduated college. I do not use my degree. I'm speaking from experience. So a lot of these majors, you're not going to school on my dollar to be a history major or a psych major. Like, you can get a lot of this experience in other ways. Let's find those ways. If you really want to be an art major, let's start painting. Let's get you in classes. You do not have to go to college. Brag about tens of thousands of, dollars in tuition for art or for history. So
I like that. I agree with your college point. Unless you're doing engineering, lawyer, doctor, stuff like that, like, we need to know, because it's a bad investment. But if they want to be an artist, right? I think there's an impact when you see your kid just sitting on the couch watching some TV, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm painting a picture," and then, like, I think it in practice, like, it sounds good to be like, "Oh yeah, support it," but if they're eating your food and you're like, "Yo, like, you got to do something," like, I know you're, making a video or doing whatever you're doing, like, can you guys? That might be a little annoying, right? Like,
So
get on my couch, go
Right.
go mow a
wait,
lawn
how
or
old is
something.
this kid?
16 to 21.
No, I mean, I feel
So
like
they're
I'm not
pursuing
gonna
art or dance or
That-
video production, right? They're not going to make money. How you gonna do
I
it?
can't take it serious if you don't take it serious. So why are you on the couch watching TV? Go art. Go do art. Go dance. Go, like,
Well,
show me
maybe they
that you
did.
want it, right? The TV is not helping. Do that, right? And then find ways to make money doing that, or find ways to make money while also doing that, and combine. That's when I'll take you a little serious.
But it could take a long time to make some money. I didn't
So-
sell my first house for a year.
I understand, but you're not going to make money looking at the TV, sitting on the couch looking at the TV.
Well, I mean, you can't, like, when I was a real estate agent, before I sold anything for a year, I watched TV at some point.
yeah, but you
you know what
also
I'm
were
saying?
at open houses every Saturday.
I
Rain,
was-
sleet,
I
snow.
was doing that.
Nobody comes. You were there
Right.
every Saturday. It
That's
shows a sense of seriousness. Whereas if you're just constantly watching TV, I'm not taking you serious.
I'm not saying constantly. I'm just saying, like, you just walk in a room and I'm telling you, you just walk in a room and you just see them there laughing at the TV. You're like, get your ass up and go do
I just feel like if it's a real passion, then be passionate about it.
Right.
Show me that it's a passion, not a hobby. Because if you tell me you want to do art, I'm not supporting until I see, like, just not. But if I see my kid constantly just going in and they're taking their time out and they're always drawing, like, I'm going to be like, wow, this is something they're really passionate about. I don't have to tell them. I don't have to push them. They're passionate about this. I'll invest. Okay, let's get you in an art class or whatever the case may be. You don't tell me you want to do art and you're just watching TV all the time. Baby, you want to watch TV.
So
Like, there's a difference.
couple things. Let me just backtrack really quick to the college experience, right? So while I understand that it's not necessarily a great investment if you go and you're not utilizing your degree, I think on a personal level, on an experience level, college is probably one of the best investments for self growth. And the reason why I feel like that is the experiences that you have in college really tend to shape you. And this is just my personal experience, right? It's just like it tends to shape you and mold you into, you know, whatever you're going to eventually become based on your personal experience when you're like how you utilize college and what you do. Because again, my background was completely different. College was an escape for me, but college also taught me some very valuable lessons.
What you learn?
Huh?
What you learn in college?
Well, the fact that, like, all right, for example, like I was paying rent in college since 18 years old. I paid rent every month on time, not missing a bill.
Do you have to be in college to pay rent though?
No, I'm saying though, like it kind of put me in that scenario because I knew I didn't want to stay on campus, right? So I got my first apartment. I kept an apartment. I kept up with that. All the stuff that I feel like if I didn't go to school as a kid at 18 years old, staying home, because that's probably what I would have did. I wouldn't have went out and got my own apartment. Like I probably wouldn't have did that stuff until a little while later. But I learned those experiences early, like keeping a job and making sure that my bills are paid on time and all that, like without the assistance of my parents. You know what I mean? Like I did all that by myself. Like, and then on top of that, like the responsibilities of like actually completing my degree. Like, okay, get up, go to school, figure out your systems. Like in college, that teaches you like, okay, 8 a.m.s aren't your thing. Like, okay, well, how do I structure my days? Like, how do I, put things together put a system together for it to work for me, because that kind of shaped my future. While I don't use my degree at all for the field that my degree was in public relations and communications. I don't work at a PR firm, but I'm in sales. The reason why I'm in sales is because of the steps that I took in college to realize what works for me. It's funny that we talk about like sitting on the couch and watching TV, whatever. I'm in sales. I work no more than 10 hours to 15 hours a week. So I'm home, right? So I wake up, go handle my business, go talk to a couple of doctors, and I come home and I'm on the couch and I'm watching TV. Do you know what happens when I'm on the couch and I'm watching TV? Oh, you don't have no work to do?
That's what I'm saying.
What do you mean? I just took care of my work. Right. But through my college experience, I knew grinding out and working the 9 to 5 and clocking and punching your clock every single day, that was not for me. Like, it just wasn't. And it's because, like, I kind of learned my tendencies through being away at school. And that was just me personally. Like, on a personal level, college probably was the best thing I could have did. The investment side of things, not necessarily. But for my kid, again, no pressure to go to college. But I will encourage you to go for the experience. And the experience is costly. It really is. But I want you to get out there. I want you to go and do your own thing and find yourself, who you are, where you want to be. And I even, will encourage you to go out of state. Don't stay in state. My parents were like, you need to stay home now. And I'm like, I wanted to go across
we
the
got to
country.
get Cassandra in here because she is making, crazy faces.
You're not giving
Switch the camera.
I got it.
I am not good with hiding how my facial expressions. I'm so sorry.
Cassandra looked disturbed.
Mm-hmm. Danny, woo! There are so many pieces to dissect with that. Let's see. I strongly, very strongly, with the strongest, disagree with that. And I respect it though, because college was an experience. I had a time. A time was had, but no, for the amount that I paid, absolutely not immediately. No, I would not. I'll take that time back. I would gladly give my degree back and get a refund if I could. I just disagree with everything you said.
You
But
feel
we
like
had
you
two
learned.
different paths in
But then
school,
you
though.
said, like, if college did not make you rich, and yes, you have a nice relaxed sales job that you enjoy, you are not rich. I don't think, if you're attributing college to that, I think it failed you. I think college fails a lot of people. I think the way that it's set up it's essentially, well, that's another rabbit hole to go down, but I feel like the way the college system is set up, like, the first 2 years, you're not even taking anything you're taking prereqs.
Right.
Which is not even art, history, nothing related to your major
Right.
at all. but
Right.
you're paying top dollar for nothing. That's you're never taking that stuff with you.
Yeah.
They didn't teach you. College doesn't teach you how to be financially inept. It doesn't teach you financial literacy. It doesn't teach you how to get rich. It teaches you how to be a good, upstanding 9-to-5 citizen, if that's what you
But
want.
I'm not that. So
And-
how would it teach me to
But
be that
you
if I'm not that?
lost. You
If you're saying that it teaches you to do that, and
But you're
I'm
saying-
not that, then how can you
But you're
contribute it to
saying
that?
you're attributing college helping you become more of a financial, a responsible adult, whereas you got your apartment. You could have did that without college.
Yeah.
You learned how to pay bills on time. You could have did that without college. I just feel like it was a very expensive experience that you paid for that you didn't gain enough from.
I did. I gained way more than I would have gained not going to college. Again, because our
But you would have gained those
experiences.
experiences.
No, I wouldn't have. Our experiences are completely different. You had your experience in college. I didn't. So just an example on a financial aspect, without my fraternity, the networks that I gained in that particular aspect of college, I would have never been in a position that I'm in today. My fraternity brothers 5x my salary from the time in 2018 going into sales to now by just literally having the connections and them setting me up on the path to get to where I am today to make the money that I'm making today. So like without that, where would that network have come from? Because, you know, I'm a big football guy, whatever the case may be, but my experiences in college and the things that I did personally in college and utilized that atmosphere for got me to where I am today. So that's why I said it's a lot different on a person-to-person basis, because your experience to college and my experience to college is two different things. While you would turn you would give your degree back on the financial aspect, I would too. Like, all right, well, damn, like, you know, if I knew it cost this much, whatever. But again, I made stupid decisions with refund checks and things of that nature because I wasn't, you know, I didn't have the financial literacy that I needed to take advantage of that stuff. My mom and my dad didn't know what a refund check was. I just knew I was getting a nice amount of money back. And it was because I was stupid enough to consistently take out loans that I did not need. But I did that because I was thinking like, oh, I got 10 bands in my pocket for a semester. We could do whatever. I could buy my car. I could do this. I could do that, whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, if I got 10 grand that year, then I got 10 grand in the spring, I could have used that 20 grand, put that down towards a 3.5 interest rate with FHA, bought a fourplex or just a regular house at Rowan, house hacked, this, that, and the third. I didn't have those, you know, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
But college would have gave me that. College would have gave me that money, because you ain't getting no loan at 18 years old, you know what I'm saying, without having your stuff together. You ain't getting that kind of stuff. But if I had the right person in my corner to be like, yo, be careful what you do with your refund check. This how you should put it together. Where you living at? Oh, you paying rent? Oh, you should do X, Y, Z, like how I want to do for the next one. College gives you that opportunity to do it.
No, college gave you the money. They didn't give you
But
the knowledge.
But it gives you the tools, is what I'm trying to say. Like depending on your experience. If you're going to school in Jersey, right? If you go to Rowan, let's just use Rowan as an example. Typically, if you're coming from a low income to median income family, you're paying less than $2,000 a semester to go to school with the TAG grant and Pell grant, this grant and that grant. If you go through EOF, it's even less. So really, I didn't have to pay for school, to be honest. I took out loans because I took out loans. So,
Yeah.
you know, and again, if I knew what the hell to do with that money at that time, it's like I'm beating myself over the head. But my experience, that was the first time I ever seen $10,000 in my pocket. Well, how do I manage it? How do I go? Like, yes, college didn't, like, the damn degree didn't do it. The experience really did it. Like, Pleasure in my fraternity, I knew I wanted to be in a fraternity since I was in 10th grade. It was like Black History Month. It was like, yo, I'm being in the frat. Like, it's not even a question. You know what I mean? Like, because that's, you know, growing up in Camden, all of my teachers were a part of a fraternity or sorority. So it kind of, my coaches was all Qs. I had one Sigma coach, you know, whatever. Then that ingrained in me. Stomp the Yard comes out. You know what I mean? I'm seeing all that. And I knew, like, when I got to school, it was for a particular reason. It was like, yo, I want to play football. I want to get my degree, because everybody says if you get your degree, you get a better job. And back then it was kind of true. Like, okay, you got your undergrad, you're going to get a decent job depending on the field that you're trying to get into, even if it was being a cop. If you had your undergrad back then, you got like 20 or 30,000 more than a regular policeman that came in at 18 years old or whatever case may be,
Yeah.
because you had the degree to back you up. But so like I said, the actual investment wasn't the best thing in the world, but the personal experiences that it granted me was crazy. Like, I got lifetime friends that in college that are like, you got friends from back home, right? I talked to maybe 3 of them from growing up in high school, this and the third, keeping in touch with them, whatever. My college people, man, listen, they did my wedding, they, my barbecues, I'm in their weddings, I'm going to meet their family, this and the third. Like, those things, like my best man, I met in college. I would have never met him any other place. Would I had another best man? Of course. But, those experiences.
You made a good defense of college, because I was feeling like Cassandra too when you were saying that. But I think that's a pretty good argument that you're making, that, some of those things you would not have done. Maybe you could do them, like if you know to do them, with the student loans and doing the house hack and all that kind of stuff. But I see your point where, like, how else are you going to get, there's a way to finesse it. So I think that's a really good college argument.
For sure. But the second thing is, you have to know, then this is going to your second point of the plan. And if your son or daughter wants to be an artist or a YouTuber or whatever, you have to kind of engross yourself into their world to understand what needs to happen for them to be relevant in their particular field, right? Or make any type of money, and know like what that plan looks like and help them build it out. Because I'm sure, like, as anybody that's trying to be an entrepreneur, right, like, you have to go through steps and phases before you start making money. What they say, a business doesn't really start seeing profit until 5 years or so.
Right.
Many businesses don't last after that first year. So, with your son that wants to be Picasso, he ain't gonna be Picasso in January, and then turn around the next January he done sold a painting for $1 million. That's not realistically gonna happen. It might, it might be that one time in the world that it does, but really get to understand what they're trying to do, and like you said, make sure that they're consistently putting effort to show you that they're doing, the necessary things to become that. Because if they're not, then they're wasting time. And you don't want them to waste time, and you got to explain to them that value as well. You don't get those years back to explore.
I would propose something to young people, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do this, but my path, I don't know how I stumbled into this, but I joined the military. And when I was like 15, 16, I remember Boys in the Hood, and the dad was like, "You'll never join the white man's army," or whatever. I vividly remember that. And I was like, hell no, I ain't joined the military. And then somehow I'm like, taking the oath. So, but I will say that I think the military is a cheat code, especially in today's economic situation, because you can bypass college at first, gain work experience, learn discipline, gain life experiences. I got stationed in Germany. I'm 18 in Germany. That's a cool experience.
Right.
I didn't appreciate it enough at the time. Plus, no one cares about you out there. You're going to have to be a grown man out there. You're going to have to be a grown up, because if you mess up, no one cares. No one's going to coddle you. You're going to have to learn how to show up on time, do what you're supposed to do. And that's sorely missing now. And people think, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. But I always say, and it's a cliche, but knowing how to be a good follower actually can help you be a good leader later, because you can kind of understand the perspective all the way through. And if you just start as a boss, you're not going to understand the people that are working for you, or like what you're supposed to do as a leader. So I think you gain a lot of skills that way. And then on the financial front, you're getting paid, and now cost of living is doing really well now. As long as you don't make the mistake like everybody does and go to the car dealership right outside of base,
buy a Charger
and get a Charger or a 5.0 Mustang or whatever at now it's probably like 15% interest, and mess it up, because you don't have to spend any money in the military. You can eat on base. You get a housing allowance, you get a clothing allowance. You could really spend almost no money. And deployments are different now, but that's all tax-free money. And if you're on deployment, you're definitely not spending any money. So, when I got out of the military, I had like $20,000 saved. I had a car. I had assets. Like I was able to do a lot of things. I bought a fourplex, house acted at the time. So like I was set. And then you get your veteran benefits. You get the GI Bill, which pays for not just school, but it pays for your housing, which has kept up with inflation. So you're getting paid whatever the zip code is, called BAH, basic allowance for housing. And then I use that time to go to school, but also that's when I got my real estate license, and that's when I had like the security of my past to carry me into the future reliably instead of struggling. So the military is not for everybody, but I think especially now, it's a cheat code. It really is, and there's a lot of benefits. And there's the disability system and stuff like that, because you pick up injuries and stuff like that along the way. And I'm not talking about even just war stuff, but like you sprain your ankle, blah blah blah. You can be compensated for that kind of stuff. So I say that all to say, I think this was a great conversation. We got different perspectives on college, living at home, the cultural differences, and I think you got 3 different perspectives on that crucial time in your life. There's a lot of angst. There's a lot going on as a teenager, figuring out your life. You don't know what you don't know. I think, both of you guys as parents or going forward or even just talking to young people, I think you're giving them game that you guys didn't have, and I think that's so important. So I'm really happy with the conversation today, and I appreciate you guys.
No, it was great. It was great. I think that you really learn a thing or two from this conversation, and make smart decisions. Seriously. As an 18-year-old.
So give us feedback, like, comment, subscribe, share it, send it to a young person. This conversation, I feel like, is right where things that they need to be hearing from a perspective that's not too far removed, because we ain't that old. Maybe.
And don't feel rushed to know what you need to do. Like, if you're 18 to 24, figure it out. Like, take your time, Take your time.
Ardhi Real Estate Podcast.
We're not